This is a Dude Studios production. And hey, I'm the dude.
Hey bartender, pass me a drink. A reason that I'm here is I need time to think.
Welcome back to Hey Bartender
All the way to the
Podcast.
world.
I'm your bartender for the evening. You can call me Anthony, or you can call me Dude if you're bad with names. I'm completely cool with that. How's everybody doing this week? We are almost to Easter right now, people, and you know there's a lot of stuff happening. Probably friends, family, a little bit of Easter egg hunting. Hopefully, your people in your area are, keeping it cool, but have enough freedom, COVID freedom, in order to do whatever you want and enjoy watching your kids hunt for plastic eggs all over your yard, and pray that they get all of them before the ant infestation happens. But enough about that. It is the Wednesday Quick Shot episode, which means I got to give you a drink special. That is a shot, even though once in a while, majority of the time I haven't given you shot recipes just because they're all pretty much done. Once in a while I find some really golden nugget that I got to try. For instance, what can I get you tonight? You are going to get a Stone Cold Stinger. Stone Cold Stinger goes as follows. According to the SpruceEats.com, the Stone Cold Stinger is a very popular party shooter, and there are several ways to make it. The more popularly known is known as liquid cocaine, and sometimes it's called liquid crack. However, what you call it, the shot lives up to its name because it's filled with strong flavors and potent liquors, let's just say. Most often, the shot recipe includes Jägermeister, cinnamon schnapps, and peppermint schnapps. So, if you want to really charge them really high amount of money for this shot, use Jaeger, Goldschlager, and Rumpelminz. Put all of those into your shaker with some ice. Shake the shit out of it. Once again, thank you, Randall. And pour them into respective shot glasses. It's probably one of those fun ones that you can do multiple shots all at once and then hand them out to a party. If you really, really want to get fancy, throw in a peppermint candy with it. So as soon as they take that shot, they throw in the peppermint candy if they can breathe, and then, everybody goes on with their evening. It's nice, simple, easy, and fun to do. I don't know about fun to do, but, you get what I mean. Just a quick thing before we get started with tonight's show. This episode is sponsored by the United States Bartenders Guild. They are currently working on the world-class bartending competition sponsored by Diageo. If you want more details on that, go to my Instagram page. You'll find a link on my profile page. Click on that, register, and I'll be talking a little bit more about it a little bit later on in the show. But you got to go check it out. So, people, usually I come up with a bunch of bar stories coming up on these shows. I tell you about some stuff that happened when interacting with the customers, some bummer stories, some funny stories. I'm going to change it up just a little bit this episode. People, most common thing that I've been asked probably in the last 6 months is, why do I do this show? Why do I do Hey Bartender Podcast? Well, there's a bunch of reasons. One, I've told you guys before, I wanted to do a podcast. I didn't know what I wanted to do a podcast about. I couldn't think of anything that hasn't been done 1,000 times before, or talk about anything that is incredibly interesting, at least in my personal opinion. I mean, maybe there are people that wouldn't mind random stories of TV shows, movies. No, that's been done. Or talk about, no, that's also been done. Anyway. The stuff that I could think of wasn't all that interesting. And I sat back and thought, what in this planet can I call my own and something that I can talk about? Well, I have a day job, and a lot of the times when I'm doing my day job, we're all sitting around talking, and then I caught myself saying on multiple occasions, back when I was a bartender, then I'd tell whatever story that had to do with whatever we were talking about. And it finally hit me. I thought, bartender podcast. There are other bartender podcasts out there, but I'm going to come on and tell my stories. And my stories are unique from everybody else's stories because their stories don't have me in it. Okay, and I have a different perspective. I mean, sure, all of us, we've had to take care of a drunk. We've had to fight off a drunken customer from hitting on us. We've over-poured, we've under-poured. We've all got stories like that. But in my own words and in my own fashion, I thought, why not? Because I've got a lot of great bartending stories. And so I decided to try it out. And I ended up enjoying the shit out of it. I mean, when I first started this podcast 3 years ago, I wasn't expecting much. Because I hear about like Joe Rogan's podcast. He has millions of listeners per episode. I hear rumors about most of these others, and most of the podcasts that I've heard of have celebrities on them, or celebrities doing the podcast, and they can go through their Rolodex and call on their friends and bring them in to interview on the show. I mean, Michael Rosenbaum's Inside of You. I listen to that one every now and then. And a lot of the people that come onto the show are people that he's interacted with, people that he's met in life or he's worked with in projects like Sorority Boys and Smallville. His first episode had Tom Welling on it. He played Clark Kent in Smallville, for you guys that don't know. So, it's a little bit tough for me to stand out in a crowd when you've got all these famous people standing up, like Joe Rogan, Kevin Smith, and, well, all you guys know all the really popular podcasts out there. But, I just thought this is going to be difficult to do. But wait a minute, this is, something I can do for free and something I can do for fun. But after listening to a whole bunch of other podcasters out there, I started thinking, well, who can I have on my guest list? Would I have to go searching for bartenders? Would I have to walk into bars, say, please be on my podcast? And then I went, God, you're stupid, Anthony. You've got friends who are still bartenders, and they would do anything to help you out. So the first guest that I ever had on Hey Bartender podcast was my good friend Shannon Moore. She and I worked together for about a year and a half at a bar, and we've stayed friends ever since. It was easy to get her on the show. She was nervous. She was nervous about the expectations and how to act on a talk show, and I kept telling her, what are you talking about? It's like late nights after we close the bar. We're just hanging out together and talking. That's all it really has to be. Of course, we're going to dive in a little bit on your history a little bit, but that's it. And, we just have a little bit of fun with it and talk for about an hour and see where it goes. And it took a little convincing, but she was all for it. And so it was really exciting for me to get that started. But then the excitement started to build when I was quite a few episodes into it. And all of a sudden, I get a message from Mia Torres. Now, Shannon was my first guest, but Mia Torres was the first guest that I had on my show that I had never met. I did not know who the hell she was. All I know was she's gorgeous, and she wanted to be on my show, and I was like, hell yeah, let's get you on the show. I got to learn about wine pairing. I got to, and not just, what kind of wine goes with the chicken and fish? No, she was talking about wine that goes with French fries and wine that goes with kimchi. And I was like, how do you get this knowledge? It was a fun podcast to do. And so, I stayed busy with it for a little while, but then life started to happen. I was working a lot at my job, having trouble finding time to do the podcast, having trouble staying awake because I was always tired, always working. And then I switched jobs. And after a while, I let Hey Bartender podcast go for quite a few months. And then I ran into this other podcaster. And this guy does a workplace safety podcast. And he was standing up in front of the class. He was going to talk about workplace safety. And I got two great pieces of advice from him. The first one was the first slide in his presentation. And he said, and the slide in the presentation said, don't take a laxative and a sleeping pill at the same time. That's something that I've taken with me ever since I met the guy. The second piece of advice came from when he said, does anybody here know what a podcast is? And a few people in the room raised their hand. I raised my hand and said, I have one. And he looked at me and goes, really? You were the least interesting person in this room until you just said that. Now, part of me thought I should take a little bit of insult for what he said, but it actually, the guy was so nice, so charismatic. I didn't care what he said. It actually made me laugh when he said that. So he and I exchanged podcast names, and all of a sudden I was influenced. You know what? I want to start it again. And then I got a little paranoid, and I said, well, what if people aren't listening to it? So I got onto the distributor that I had for my podcast at the time, and I saw, I think I was sitting there thinking, well, that was the number the last time I checked it, and that was like 4 or 5 months ago. And when I got back to it, the number was way bigger. And I was like, holy shit, people are actually listening to this. Maybe I should do some more. And that is pretty much where it went from there. And, you know, I still go on the hunt, searching for people to be on the show, because it's fun to bring, for me to interview guests, rather than just regale all of you with all the stories that I have, and, and because I want to get that feeling again of sitting at somebody's house or sitting in somebody's garage after shift, or, you know, at the nearby diner and after shift, and sitting and just talking, and, you know, share a couple war stories of the day, talk about what's going on with the family. You know, that's it. That always left me with a good feeling. And so far, that's what I've been able to do with this show. And I'm really, really happy about it. And I've been able to mold the show into something that I really like doing. I've been able to meet other bartenders. I've been able to share my stories. Some of the stories that I've shared with you guys that I'm not so sure I wanted to do it, but it felt good to get some of the stuff off of my chest. And, that alone is like kind of like therapy. You know, it's just finally just get it out, talk about it. And, if some of you guys relate, cool. If some of you don't, whatever. Hopefully you'll come back next week to listen to another show. And it's cool to make some friends also. In fact, speaking of friends, anybody remember the episode where I had a guy whose Instagram handle is Boogie Lives on my show? That was episode 130. Boogie Lives came onto the show. He has been a longtime supporter of the podcast, and he's always been encouraging. He's always told me that he likes the show. And you know what the cool thing is? He's not expecting this, but I'm going to say it right now because it's going to be passed by the time I do the Saturday Big Show. But Friday, April 2nd, is Boogie Lives' birthday. So if you know at Boogie Lives on Instagram, or even in New York City somewhere, and you know where the Clockworks Bar is, go in on Friday, April 2nd, wish him a happy birthday. Or just wish him a happy birthday on his Instagram page, because I'm doing this for him because he's been a huge supporter of the show, and he's helped me out quite a bit. And I'd do that for any of my guests if I knew when their birthday was. Oh, wait. Shannon's birthday's today. Oh, shit. I better give her a call. Yeah. So, happy birthday. Tell Shannon Moore. She was the first guest I ever had on my show. Go tell her happy birthday, too. Once again, she's a longtime friend, big supporter of the podcast, big supporter of me as a person, because she was the one that really tried to hone my customer service skills, even though I only took a couple things away from her and developed my own personality that people learned to put up with. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. United States Bartenders Guild and Diageo have reimagined the world-class U.S. bartending competition by making it virtual, that anyone 21 and over is invited to attend. Now you can have a front row seat watching the top 50 bartenders compete in amazing challenges. Catch all the educational studios that inspired this year's competition on DiageoBarAcademy.com. Watch the speed round and the final announcement on April 6th at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Only one bartender will go on to represent the U.S. at the World Class Global Finals in Madrid, Spain later this year. Now you're asking, dude, how do I get to this? Visit www.DiageoBarAcademy.com, click on World Class, register by April 13th to access the event, and best of all, it's all free. Watch stuff live or watch on demand. Plus, as a bonus, there will be expert-led panels, trend-leading education, and brand education events hosted by industry experts from around the globe. You got to register to the event by April 13th to access all the competition and behind-the-scenes action live or on demand. Visit www.DiageoBarAcademy.com. That's DIAGEO baracademy.com. Then click on the World Class banner to register today.
Bartender.
But as this podcast started to grow a little bit bigger and more people started listening and more people started asking if they could be on the show, which is an incredible honor no matter who you are, and I'm getting more guests on the show and just having fun with it because I've met a lot of great musicians too and independent musicians, and I've been a strong advocate that a lot of music does not get played anymore because it's just not able to get heard. There's a lot of really talented bands out there or singers or whatever that just, can't make it to, don't have the money for a producer, don't have the money for a proper recording studio, don't have any opportunities other than going to a bar and playing their music, or a bar or club. And so, me doing that, especially during the COVID year, that was really important to some of these people, like Quiet Pterodactyl. A lot of these people, they're not out playing clubs anymore, but they still want to get their music out there. So I am more than happy to help these independent artists get their voice heard out there. And that's why every Saturday you have a musical guest on my show. That's just something new for you guys to hear. Hopefully something new for you guys to like. Because music to me is the most important part of a bar. You can't have a bar that doesn't have any music in it whatsoever because it feels like you're in a dark hole. No matter how many people are in there, there's just no atmosphere. There's no mood. And, I'm sure one bar you might hear a little bit of classical music in the background. Another bar you might hear Aerosmith. But, you got to have music. Music's really important to the bar, to life, everything. Although in a really fancy bar, I'm sure you don't all of a sudden see a woman stand up on the bar and hear Beethoven's Fifth and she's going, "Woo, that's my jam!" That'd be funny. Anybody has this video of that, I'd love to see it. Email me. But the most important reason why I do this podcast is for you guys. Servers, bartenders, cooks, managers, dishwashers, all of you guys, is because I felt it just like you guys did. People in the service industry are incredibly unappreciated. We are looked down upon. People ask us stupid questions like, why don't you get a real job? And we kind of have to brush them off because it could turn into a serious argument and we could lose our jobs. But people insult the service industry constantly. They look down on us. And it's really tough. I've told you dozens of stories where people come up to me and say, you should really get a real job. But in some cases, I was able to put those people down by saying, I've got a quote unquote real job. I just do this for fun and the extra money. Because there's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with being working in the service industry. There's nothing wrong with being a waitress, bartender, cook, busser, dishwasher, There's absolutely nothing wrong with your jobs. You work hard, you make money, you sweat a little sometimes, and you go home smelling funny. And that's majority of the other quote unquote real jobs out there. Most of those people smell funnier than you do, believe it or not. Did we spend 4 years in school just to end up in a dead-end job? Some of us did. But did we spend 6 years just to be in debt for the rest of our lives paying student loans? Some of us did. But point is, we are able to survive. We are able to go anywhere, any town, any place to find a job. You can be working at a diner in one city, and then you could be working in fine dining in the next city. And it's easy, really, really easy for us to find another job because our trade is so versatile. And I'm just here to share some stories. I'm just here to meet some people, listen to some good music, and it's turned out really great so far. And, this is probably something that I should have saved for like the 200th episode or something like that instead of episode number 173, whatever this is. But really, you guys should be hearing this all the time, telling yourselves this in the mirror every day. Your job is good. You have a roof over your head. You have money in your pocket. You have food in the refrigerator. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with your job. In fact, you are fucking awesome for taking on a job such as this, where you have to deal with all types of different personalities constantly, all day long. I bet some of you thought I was going to say assholes, but I said different personalities. Not because not all the customers are assholes. We got to learn to agree with that. And not only just people that work in the service industry that I want on the show. I mean, some of you are probably thinking restaurants only, but I actually want fast food people on here. If you remember Armin Basha, he was on the show a while back. He worked at a KFC, and he told us about his life there, and also told us about his music and his life during COVID. I loved having that guy on the show. I'd love to have more people on the show. Truth being told, in my own vanity, I want famous people on this show because I want to hear their stories, hear them talk about how they were a server or a dishwasher or bartender and worked at those jobs between doing auditions. Just to let you guys know that good things can happen from all of this. Don't ever sit back and think you're stuck there. But if you're happy, if you're truly happy, which I've met tons of people who are truly happy just being a bartender or being a server, by all means, go do it, be happy, and fuck everyone else. Anyway, people, it is last call for alcohol. That's enough for the quick shot episode of Hey Bartender Podcast. Come join me on Saturday, where I'm going, it's still kind of in the mix to try to, whether my guest is going to show up or not, so I'm not going to tell you about that. But we will be hearing a single from Vitreous Humor, who I found on Bandcamp. Pretty cool. I want to thank Laura Hope and the Arctones for supplying the music for the theme song to this show. Those guys rock. Go check them out. Go follow them on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. They have live shows every Monday, and they're awesome. I also want to thank my sponsor, Diageo Bar Academy. Remember, the world-class bartending competition brought to you by United States Bartenders Guild and sponsored by Diageo is happening right now between August 29th and April 6th. And you want to go check that out because they've got tons of things for you to watch, tons of things for you to learn. So go check that out. The link is on the bio of my Instagram page, or you can go to www.diageobaracademy.com. I also want to thank SpruceEats.com for letting me steal their shot, Stone Cold Stinger shot, off of their webpage. Go check them out. They've got a lot of great recipes on there if you're stuck for ideas for new shots to bring to your customers. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to Hey Bartender Podcast. If you want to follow us, you can follow me on Instagram, Hey Bartender Podcast. You can follow me on Facebook, Hey Bartender Podcast. If you want to email me, dude@heybartenderpodcast.com. And, I answer to everybody pretty much. So you can email me, message me, whatever you want. Also, if you want to go pick up a Hey Bartender Podcast t-shirt, go to www.heybartenderpodcast.com. Hey Bartender Podcast t-shirts are being sold currently for $15 on the website. So go pick your favorite and, wear it proudly because I'm here to support you. And if it wasn't for you guys, if it wasn't for my time being behind the bar, I would have nothing to talk about. I'd just be another normal everyday guy sitting, watching TV, talking to myself. Yeah. And nobody likes that guy. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, as usual, I just want to wish you all lots of love, lots of sex, lots of happiness, and don't take any shit from anyone. Good night.
I think I need another drink. What do you mean it's last call? I just got here.